Talk up there's a little slow, so let's open up our meeting. We have the clerk. Would you do roll call, please?
Tim O'Connell.
Here.
Sharon Kelly.
Here.
Tracy LeBlanc. Here. Doug Rowdy.
Here.
Pam Garvey.
Here.
And Justin Wood.
Here.
We have 6 out of 6.
Okay. Approval of the minutes. What's in your packet?
How about the agenda first?
Approval of the agenda
I make a motion to approve the agenda. I'll second.
as presented.
As presented.
Thank you. Any questions, any changes? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Oh, the minutes from our April 2nd meeting. Okay, Tracy, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second. All right. All those in, anybody have questions on them? If you've read them, okay. All those in favor then say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public comment? We have none. We don't have any other supervisor. Okay. So we can jump into our presentation then. Of the LiDAR.
Pick it up for you.
Kick it off for us, Tim.
All right.
You living in this room or what?
What's that?
Did you just move in and live here?
Yeah, I had a cot set up last night and.
Yeah, you were here.
We don't write on.
All right.
Yep, for sure. Good morning, everyone. I thought I'd just give a little brief introduction of what LiDAR is first, and then turn it over to our presenter, Adam from Ayers and Associates, who we contracted with to develop this LiDAR viewer for us. Back in 2022, the county
You can come in and sit.
collected the LiDAR data. You want me to?
You just have them come in if they want, if they're looking for us.
The Land Information Department.
This is the Environmental Services Committee meeting, and you have a public hearing at 9:30?
Yeah.
Okay, you can just have a seat over there and wait, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll keep going. Yep.
Yep.
So back in 2022, the county collected LiDAR data in coordination with the USGS in their 3D elevation program. LiDAR stands for light detection and ranging. And what it means is basically you fly over the ground and lasers are used to shoot back at the ground and they reflect back up and they give you a bunch of data points, and that's used to develop a digital elevation model. So you get things like slope and elevation and depressions and those kind of things, all of which you'll see really clearly in the presentation this morning. As you might assume, shooting the entire county with a bunch of lasers and getting that data set back is going to be a huge data set. And so one of the reasons we contracted with Ayers to develop this online viewer is to get it in an easily usable format so that both staff and the public can access this data really easily. Because if it was in its raw form, it would take forever for the computers to actually process that stuff. So this is a simple and easy way to access that information from your desktop and get some incredible accuracy for the elevations and the slopes and stuff like that here in the county. With that, I'd like to introduce Adam Derringer from Ayers and Associates. He's online and he'll be doing the presentation virtually for us. We are recording it as well. Adam has been and Ayers and Associates have been a great partner for us. In addition to developing the LiDAR viewer, historically, they've helped us with the WROC, which is the consortium that we use to collect the aerial photography every 5 years here, which gives us a significant discount and allows us to keep moving forward with aerial photography production so that we keep current at the county level here. So without further ado, we'll turn it over to Adam Derringer, and he will give you a LiDAR viewer presentation. Thanks, Adam.
Very much, Tim. Yeah, as Tim said, I've been doing both the LiDAR and the imagery for the state of Wisconsin for the last 13 years or so. So if anybody in the room has any questions on either of those products, I'm happy to dive in. I know I just have a short period of time here. So my goal for my few minutes is to walk you through the LiDAR viewer. The county has essentially just a URL link so that everybody in the room would have access to use what I'm going to show you exactly like I'm going to show it to you. But so would everybody in the public. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So you see here, of course, is Polk County. When you open up the app, they'll start with a little splash screen. They just gives you information about the LiDAR data itself. Just go ahead and click OK. If that splash screen annoys you, just say, I never want to see this splash screen again. That'll remain in your cookie, so it won't show. But this is where you're going to start every time. On the left side of the screen, you've got some zoom buttons, some home buttons, find your location buttons if you want, all these kind of navigational buttons. Down below that, you'll have a little XY coordinate, but this is an elevation data set. So you could always go to XYZ, and as you scroll over the county, it will give you your elevation, your lat and long, in case you get lost or you want to mark a location. The main meat of this is going to be over on the right-hand side of your screen. So the very top button is going to show you all the layers that are within the viewer. And any one of these little arrows will give you an opportunity to drop down and turn on and off data like any other map that the county's got online. You'll also see below the point cloud, we also have our 1-foot contours that we developed for the county. We developed culvert lines throughout the whole county. So we mapped over 23,000 culverts within the county. I will show those to you. We're streaming in the county's parcel data so you can see what parcel you're looking at within the data. Because we had the culverts, we also mapped closed depressions. We're using the county's public lands and zoning and roads. And your current imagery, and I say current, that's your last flight of imagery, is in this viewer as well. So I'm going to start walking through and show you how to utilize this data set. So I'm going to jump down to the bottom little button on the right, and we have these nice little slides. We put a few of these together, and then working with Tim and Brad and some of the people in the land information department, we picked a couple interesting locations in the county. So all you need to do is click on them, and it'll zoom you to that location. So what we've got here is an actual 3D data set. So we can go ahead, pan around, and zoom. This data set is measurable. So there's this nice little measure tool that I can click on. You click measure line. You can also measure an area. And I can see I've got a little trail right here. So I'm just going to click on that trail. So from the trail, say down to the bottom of the hill, right about there's the bottom of that escarpment. I can see a length of how far did I go. So that's 560 feet plus 0.41 feet. And that's 178.92 feet high in that location. Now, LiDAR data was actually collected as all those points that Tim mentioned. So if I wanted to look at those points, I could just go and turn this little eyeball. It's got that cross sign on it. I'm just going to click the eyeball in order to turn that on. And you're going to start to see all those laser reflections that were collected off the plane across the entirety of the county pop up. So we can still measure that elevation off of the ground through the trees. There's a stated accuracy report for your project, so you can understand, in a tree environment, what is the accuracy that you can expect for that data. Go ahead and turn those off. I'm going to go back over to my bookmarks. For streaming in your imagery data, you'll see a little blur on these steep areas, but here we're looking at the Exile Dam. Again, we're in 3D, so I can jump down in the dam. Could kind of look up at the dam. But all of that data is in here. Jump over to Balsam Lake by you guys. And you can get some really amazing views. When I am navigating this map, and we're streaming something like 3-4 terabytes of data right now, and this is just off a little $900 laptop that Ayers gives me. So in order to pan and spin around, I'm using my right mouse button. You can't break anything. You're not processing any data here, but I use my right mouse button and hold it, and I can pan and zoom around like I am here. If I use my left mouse button, I can just click and drag like you would on most other maps. And then if you've got a scroll wheel, that'll scroll you in and out. And that's as simple as it is to navigate the data.
Like Google Earth.
Except way, way more accurate.
You heard that.
The mics are good, Sharon.
So if you're in a zoning office and let's say I had a setback You can also measure off of the 3D points as well. The USGS doesn't care about buildings. They don't care about trees. So that's something we added on for the county. I could go ahead and measure off of the point cloud itself. So I'm going to create a new measurement. See if I hit it there. I can see that that building from the roof of it to the back, it's 26.5 feet high. And I've got 375 feet to get back to the edge of the woods there. If you want, you can measure the height of your deer stand as well, if you can find it. So all those points are measurable throughout the entire county. Just kind of bounce through some other locations. I love showing golf courses. I'm a terrible, terrible golfer, but I have nothing better to do with my time. So I try to figure out if I can hit over this tree with a 7-iron. But you get some nice visualizations where you can start to measure the heights of your trees, see what the landscape looks like, start to plan out other locations. But we also completed other analysis. So I mentioned that we mapped over 23,000, I think it was 23,695 culverts. I actually just wrote that down. I took a look at it right before the meeting. So those culverts are in this map. So if we found a culvert, and we're not saying we found all of them, we're trying to use the lasers to map these things. So you see these little yellow lines, those are going to be culverts. So we're not just talking about highway culverts, we're finding the driveway culverts. And once we've got culverts and we've got this really good surface model, we can find these natural depressions on the surface of the earth. They're called closed depressions. I'm sure your conservation office is going to be using this a lot. So when we find a closed depression, we can measure the acreage of it. So this one that we're looking at right here is 1.2 acres. So we've got that in the data. And the total depth is 4.4 feet. So that's the deepest spot in that depression. It's 4.4 feet deep up until the crest of that depression. And after that, water would flow out of there and go elsewhere. We've done flow accumulation models and things like that that would show you that water drainage. But that hasn't been done at this point yet. So this is a really powerful data set. We created it to start looking for sinkholes, but also for ordnance for where to spread manure. These are going to be water recharge zones. A lot of these depressions are going to feed the natural water table. So you want to protect those depressions when you can. So as you can see, we've got a lot of culverts, and what you also see here is our contours that we mapped for the county. The thicker lines are going to be your 5-foot intervals. And these are 1-foot contours. So the thinner, lighter purple lines are your 1-foot contours. And you can see when we go into a depression here, let me turn those point clouds off. Those hashed lines that you see, those are areas where the ground is going down. So those are going to be depression contours that also have an index and primary depressions contours form. So thicker and thinner lines. You go over to Cascade Falls here. I think this is one that Brad had wanted us to show. So you've got some really steep terrain here. So the point cloud is turned off. Obviously we collected points. This is probably a terrible example for it, but I'm going to try it. Another tool that we've got in here for to use is a profile tool. So we can create a new elevation profile. I'm going to click up on the top of the cliff here, and I'm going to go down, maybe across the dam a little bit there. What that does is I go onto this profile and I can see what that measurement looks like across that whole profile from the top of the escarpment, all the way down to where I finished clicking that. So you can see those elevations all the way through. This is a really common tool if I wanted to do say a new profile. Cancel that real quick. And say, I'm looking at a roadway. I want to see, what a ditch looks like, along a roadway. I could do the same thing here. So where I'm at on the profile is clearly the road, and I've got a little bit of a ditch right there where the storm drainage starts to work, and then we see where it kind of falls off right there before it goes down into the river. So really nice little tool that's available to to use wherever you want. Again, I can pan over here and I could quick do another new profile and I could see what does that look like, you know, across the roadway, like right there. And you can just give it a second to process, but you can zoom into those profiles as well with your scroll wheel. And there's the bottom of my ditch and over here. If you want, we collected a lot more points in the data than this. So when we look at the point cloud, you'll see that we've got high vegetation, we've got buildings, we colorized the point cloud. The LiDAR itself doesn't know what color it is. We used your imagery to colorize the point cloud. So we can see I've got buildings are using the imagery to colorize it. I like to look at them in red. They just stand out a little bit better for me. And if you really want, you could turn on all the ground points. That's the primary goal for the LiDAR data set itself. I don't always recommend that you turn it on because there is a lot of points and you already have a DEM that you can measure off of. But all the points are there that were measured on the ground for the entire county. You know, Tim and Brad and people that have used Esri, you can see how quickly this is drawing. Again, this is 3-4 terabytes of data sitting on my cloud. So this draws way, way, way faster than it would in Esri, and it would probably bomb out in any CAD application for a highway department and civil 3D. So you can turn that on if you need to, but by default, I've got it off. And then it just draws a lot faster. And you can see how these buildings really stick out. If I turn my vegetation on, you'll see that the trees popping up. But you know, those red buildings for me pop out a little bit better when that's what I'm looking for. There's several more quick hitters that we've put in, just kind of points of interest for people trying to experiment with this data set around the county. So we've got the ski hill. Obviously there's still snow. We fly this stuff in spring before grass starts popping up just for accuracy. So if you really want to try to get a gauge for where your ski hill runs, you got one right there. You can see the profile of it, or we could always go and say, what is the total elevation? So that ski hill run is 213.25 feet. Pretty cool data set to have. And again, this will work on just a simple laptop. All you need is an internet browser. Other things to find in here, we have some other buildings, modern dairy farms. So we're just trying to give a general image for what things look like around the county. You will see with the density of LiDAR collected, you can see some power poles in your data. There's one right there. You got a silo right there. And again, I could quickly go grab a measurement of how high is that silo. This can be fairly helpful if you're working around an airport and you want to figure out setback regulations. You know, you can see the height of your buildings, you can see the height of your trees at the time that the data was collected. It can't like project, hey, it's been 5 years, our tree's growing X number of feet, but it gives you a really good idea of where things were at the time that data was collected in the spring of 2022. Any questions on anything I've shown so far? I'm trying to move through it. This is not hard. Everything I'm doing is, this is my mouse that I'm controlling everything I've done with. So we designed this to be pretty user friendly. A lot of people really enjoy playing in this space. We have a lot of counties. There's probably 30 counties that have this LiDAR viewer up and running right now, more on the way. You don't have to be a GIS person or a CAD person or a LiDAR person. You just open up the browser and click away. You can't break anything. So it's kind of fun. It's a great tool to think about, hey, I'm about to go out to this site. I've got a manure pit. I want to see what the LiDAR says it is before I go out into the field. and measure those types of things. I'm actually guessing those are going to be closed depressions. If I turn on the depressions, there you go, will show up. So when you see a measurement for a closed depression right here, that's 1.3 acres till that fills, and LiDAR can't penetrate liquid. So if that manure pit was full, it wouldn't read that deep. It was just 4.3 feet until that manure pit would crust out in this particular case.
Give a depth of the lake. How often does data need to be updated? Or what's the norm?
Yeah, it's a great question. Actually, I mean, I was at the county for working with you guys for the previous LiDAR project. So it was about 7-8 years from your previous LiDAR project. That first one didn't get USGS funding. I've been writing the grant since late 2015. So the grants really started in 2016. The USGS will say you can apply for a new grant every 5 to 8 years. The program was initially set for reflying every 8 years, but they've recently said they'll go as low as a 5-year and or a disaster or something of that nature. That would give you cause in order to apply for a grant again. So generally you're in that 5 years to 10 years. In Milwaukee or Dane County, we've been flying a little more often on that 5-year, 4-year kind of window. But it's a little more urban, of course. There's a lot more change happening.
What's your accuracy on those measurements?
So
Plus or
on a hard,
minus?
yeah, on a hard surface, the USGS, so we flew this data in order to meet what USGS calls quality level 2 standards. So that's 2 points per meter on the ground. On a hard surface, the data was designed to have 10 centimeter accuracy RMSEZ. So about, a third of a foot on a hard surface is what this was designed to meet. It's about 2 to 3 times that as you get into more wetlands or vegetated areas. You just have all these humps and tall grass and things that the LiDAR can't quite penetrate, but on hard surfaces, they're really good. On your hard drive, there should be a vertical accuracy report that does independent checks throughout the whole county. When you look at that, it will have a photo of a ground control point that was taken that was not used in the processing, and it'll actually state how that surveyed point tested against the data itself after it was done. So you can always get a hold of that report just to give you an idea of where it stands. Most of these projects, are more like 0.26 feet, somewhere in that area. It's been it's been like 3 years since I helped fly this project, so I don't remember what it exactly was, but that's in the accuracy report for you.
So it's basically just 3 to 4 inches on most of it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
We're
You
not
can
in
always-
centimeters here yet.
Yeah. The feds like to put it in centimeters. I convert it in my head back out to 2-3 inches.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? Questions? There's a lot of stuff on there.
Yeah.
There is.
So you said earlier when we were looking at one of the little ponds that it was like, you made some comment about it. It's, you've got so many feet till it floods over its banks. So and then you said here when you were looking at the manure pit that it can't penetrate water. So it can measure from, like you said, the depression until the highest point on the bank. I'm just curious as far as, that's easy to, I can see where it makes sense, like on a human made something, but on a pond, weren't you given that some sort of an example? So you're measuring the current level of the water compared to the bank?
Yeah, that is accurate. So in these areas where, we're looking at a farm field, that when we flew it, it's dry. There's no, the soil might be a little wet, and the LiDAR can maybe penetrate, an inch or two, but beyond that, it just refracts. So if I were to find a closed depression that is also a lake, so an impounded lake. Sorry, just gonna pan and look for one of these. So we'd have some areas that look like these might be really wet areas. So these were all hydro flattened, but these lakes themselves, like we don't have any LiDAR points within the water. So we marked these as they're actually lakes. I could turn on my imagery. There we go. So these are impounded lakes. If I turn on the depressions, you're going to see that they are also depressions. So what that means is these whole areas are impounding upon themselves that doesn't have a natural water outlet. So those lakes will continue to grow. We do have, counties where we also mapped flow accumulation. So we could show you once those lakes grew, like how big would they get before that water started flowing out. So these lakes show that really well, but that also exists, in areas where you don't have permanent water.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Tim,
Just for everyone's information, this is served up on our website right now. And it's in the same area that you would find the aerial photography and the beacon site for.
stuff, it's
Yep,
the same,
It's in the same spot.
okay.
Our interactive maps.
So we have, all these lakes have been mapped too for depths, haven't they, land and water? So I mean, we could,
Not for depth
Not-
of the lake, but
on this, but I mean, you look at the sportsman book and it's got depths of lakes and potholes and all that, so that must have been done too at one time.
yeah, that wasn't done at the county level.
That wasn't done at the county level,
No.
okay.
No.
Yeah.
The boundary of the lake would be there. The boundary of flowing water would be there. So you could show you what we found the water elevation to be at the time of flight. But yeah, it's not going to tell you the depth. There is a bathymetric LiDAR, but it's really expensive and it's not being done countywide.
Okay.
If I were to go to, just want to show how these depressions work because there's some questions about it. All right, so this would be the splash screen that you get. There's also instructions that you can go to that kind of show you the buttons. So that'll be on all of the viewers. So this would be what I mean by flow accumulation. So this is just Southia down in Pierce. So they've got their depressions. So I'll turn those on. But we also did their flow accumulation. So you can see how water's getting to and from their closed depressions. So those are kind of those water lines that show you how water's moving in and out of those depressions. Does that show it a little bit better where that's the boundary of the depression? And you can see where water's going into the depression and then out of the depression in this case. So that would be where that depression would fill up and then start flowing.
Almost like a small watershed, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, in order to do that, we also map those watersheds. So we'd have those black lines show you those watersheds. We kind of do large watersheds, break it down to medium watersheds, and then small watersheds in order to get all the way down to 1/10 of an acre of drainage. But it gives you a really clear idea of how surface water's moving across your landscape. Yours has less depressions than you do, just visually looking at it.
A lot more cricks,
Yeah.
don't they, down there? Yeah,
Yeah, our hills.
a lot of hills.
A lot of hills, yeah. Yeah, you can see like it's really important. Like as we look at certain things, we've got, a highway here, but we've got 2,600 acres, flowing at this point. So when that hits a culvert, understanding how big that culvert needs to be So there it is, that culvert hits. This is not a permanent body of water. So you got 3,000 acres going through that culvert. So the LiDAR data is really, really important. You can use it for just about everything you want. Every county, like, right, government budgets, you pick what you can put to work today. But you've got a ton of data in Polk County that you can utilize with the culverts, the depressions, the hydro. You've got the 3D points across the entire landscape. You've got your contours. So a lot of great data that is far easier to use than the 2015 project that was done. There was just no technology to try and put this data up on a county server. So we kind of re-engineer the data to get it to work on just a public website. There's no login or anything. You just, you go to the Polk County GIS site right by the parcel viewer and you'll see this.
All right, Adam, thank you so much for taking time today. We, in an interest of time, we do have public hearings coming up here at 9:30, so it's time sensitive. So I hate to cut you off, but this has been incredibly helpful and useful. I think it's going to be served up as a training tool for any staff that needs to utilize it in the future as well. So I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Adam.
Absolutely. You know how to reach me if you guys have any other questions.
We will do that. Have a great day, Adam.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye, guys.
Yep, thank you.
Sorry, I was feeling the stress of the time.
That works. Do we want to do number 8 till the plan? Do we want to wait till after we're,
I think you'll have to go into public.
we'll have to go to our public here. Okay, so. All right. In the closed session part, yeah, okay, so that will save. All right, let's take these in order then. Logan, the 3. We'll take them right in order now, I think. No, we're gonna skip the closed and go to the public hearings.
Have to move it down.
So the first one is at Fresno. So we say it, correct? Okay.
Open the public hearing at 9:34, it looks like, or
Yeah.
whatever the clerk has for time.
Yeah. All right, do you want to read that notice part in?
Yeah, you bet. Jane and Amanda Ferrozo requested district change from residential agricultural 5, RA 5 to residential R1 for a parcel located at 678 Bear Trap Lane in section 31, town 33 north, range 16 west in the town of Lincoln. The parcel number is 032-00916-0000 and the parcel is 6.61 acres. Chad, if you could pull up the beacon site with this property. Just into the browser.
Give me a minute then. Here.
Looks like there's right up on the top, there's a hot bookmark for it.
Oh, right there.
Gotcha.
What's gonna be the fastest way to get there?
We could do the address in the search tab. Here.
All right.
And seconds. Yep. 876 Bear Trap Lane.
678.
Sorry. Ramble them all.
Trap Lane. There.
And if you click on map, it'll take you from
Okay, perfect. We pulled it up. So this is the property, requesting the rezone. As you'll see, part of the property is already in residential. That's within the 300-foot buffer of Bear Trap Lake, which is a class 1 lake. So that's the reason for that residential buffer. The request is to have the rest of the parcel zoned in residential as well. That layer that was just on showed it was in that RA5 currently. So it ends up being 5 acres out of the 6.61 that are proposed to be rezoned or added to the residential. The town did approve the rezone request per their March 12th, 2025 meeting. As you'll see and explained before, the surrounding land use is going to be residential for everywhere that's within 300 feet of Bear Trap Lake. There is some residential on the outside or not non-riparian here. And then the rest is RA5 around that area in the town of Lincoln. The applicant purchased the property in January of 2024. Property is served by a public sanitary sewer or the sanitary district. The current property has one dwelling, which is located right here. And the purpose of the rezone, as explained in the application, is to allow this dwelling to be a transient lodge to rent to more people. Currently, a transient lodge is required to be in residential zoning district, which the dwelling is not in that zoning district currently. So that is the main request, I believe. But we may hear more from the applicant on that. The parcel has access off of Bear Trap Lane there on the left side of the property. That is how the property is accessed. And there are no wetlands on the property. And pull up on the scroll, or right here, floodplains. We can turn on the floodplain layer. There is some floodplain, but it's down, not in the current proposed rezone. It's in the already existing residential portion. So not really relevant to this rezone location, but just wanted to point the property that is on the property. The county did provide a proper Class 2 legal notice prior to the hearing and did not receive any public comments on this request. Guess that's all I have for my initial report.
Okay. So we should have, okay. The purpose doesn't really apply to us yet, does it? No. For a rezone. So that's personal, whatever, but let's, is the owner here to add anything?
I'm here.
You want to come up?
Yeah, I can.
If you want to. State your name and stuff for the
Okay.
being recorded so that you.
Okay. I'm Shane Ferozzo. I'm the property owner. Thank you, Logan, for explaining that. Very, very nice. I can take questions, I guess, from anyone, or you want me to just state my purpose mainly? Is that?
Well, I'm trying to think if you had anything to add or whatever.
Well, I had a purpose statement that was attached.
I see it. I read that.
Yeah, so I think mainly, I guess I'll read it. Is that okay if I read my?
Sure,
purpose?
read your
Sure.
purpose. That's-
So now that, and I did actually, now that this house and land are no longer attached to the farm property, I feel it better fits into R1. My family and I plan to rent the house out via short-term rental and would like to rent it to more than 8 people. I think it's worth adding. It's a 6,000 square foot house. So to do that, we need to get it rezoned to R1. I feel that the property is unique, that it's 6.6 acres and it's in a very developed area. It's undeveloped. If you look around Bear Trap and Wapagasset, you're going to find a lot of half-acre, quarter-acre lots. So I think this kind of makes it unique in the fact this is unrelated to the rezone, but I don't see the issues of a neighbor having. We were up there in February with 24 people in the house, and I don't even think the neighbors knew we were there. So it's not like you have a neighbor sitting right next to you at this property. I also would like to have it rezoned for flexibility going forward from a development standpoint. I don't have plans to develop it. We'd like to keep it in the family if possible, but it's a big property to chew on personally. So that's really what I have. I think it is worth pointing out. I don't know if you can bring that back up. But you guys did approve a neighboring property, which is right here, like a few months ago for a rezone for the same. I think it's relevant. It's in the same area. So I
Okay.
think that's worth mentioning.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody here to speak for or against it? Okay. Okay. And you said there was nothing sent in?
Correct.
Nothing sent in, all right. So. Yeah, let's go through findings of fact, I guess, that. If you have that,
Yeah, it should be the middle one on this page, Chad, the findings. Got it? Yep.
So technically you close the public hearing at like 9:42 and enter into findings of fact.
I think we'll do the findings of fact and then close.
Okay,
So it's in the,
okay.
so it's in it, then we'll close it.
Roll up just a little.
Okay.
So a lot of this is, part of the staff report as well. You want me to read through them all?
Well, so what we're gonna do then is, like that first one, Town of Lake, that'll be like exhibit one, that we'll go through and exhibit these, so if there's any reference, if it's a separate document, that we have it exhibited as a number. So even if there's because this is a CSM also, isn't it? And a map number on that CSM that we have in here. So it is survey,
That was provided in the application?
yes,
Yes.
and it has a survey map. I think we should exhibit that, so if it ever changes or something, that we can go back to it.
So do you want the town of Lincoln minutes as exhibit 1?
Yes, let's start there. That's 2 pages, isn't it? And then we should probably, that map should be exhibit to the actual CSM. Because that could change, I guess.
Otherwise, I know you had a question on if the purpose should be in here or not. I guess that's,
I think that should wait till they apply for their CUP and stuff. To keep the purpose out. I guess that's just for background or whatever.
okay.
Yeah. So then can everybody see it, or do you want them to read it?
I can see it. I can see
I can tell, we can all see it. So in the notice, do we put that we had so many people that you noticed, the 14 or 15? Should we exhibit that in there just to be safe too, that it's in there?
I know it's required as part of the application, so
It can fall under the application then. Okay, we can do that. So that it would still be in there. Okay,
it'll still be in the file for sure.
all right. Anybody see anything else? Okay. If not, all right, we'll go with that. And then now we can close our public hearing then.
Okay.
Just maybe read your conclusion at the end of it for us.
So for the conclusions of law, changing the zoning of this property to residential R1 is supported by the town of Lincoln. Most of the surrounding lots are used for residential purposes, so rezoning the property complies with the Polk County Comprehensive Plan, existing and surrounding land use, and will not have a negative impact on existing public infrastructure. And then a little lower, there's a staff recommendation. So the staff recommendation would be to recommend approval of the rezone to the full county board.
Okay. Want anything to add or questions?
No.
If not, I'll entertain a motion for or against, I guess.
I'll make a motion
that we send it to the board with our recommendation to approve it.
Okay, on the consent agenda, maybe?
Yes, consent agenda. Yes.
All right,
God, I forgot.
is there a second?
Can I just modify the motion a little bit?
Sure.
Can we move to adopt the recommended findings of fact and conclusions of law?
First?
And so just add that to the beginning of your motion
Oh, okay,
so that you all are agreeing that those are in fact the facts. And
Okay.
that you are all agreeing that that is the appropriate applicable law.
oh, I see, okay. Should we separate that out next time?
I think it can all be the same
It
motion.
could be in the same, okay,
So long as you guys are adopting those as your facts, I think you can adopt the facts, adopt the conclusion, and then send to board for approval.
okay.
That's what I want to say.
I meant to say.
Yep.
Make it work.
I can make that work.
You can make it work. And Doug, you second that?
Well, yeah, I did.
Okay,
I did.
well, whoever, who'd you write?
I got Rowdy, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions or anything then? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That will go in the next board meetings when?
May something,
I'll tell you.
Third week?
20?
Third Tuesday.
Okay, so then
May
the final
20th?
would be May 20th. Okay,
Yep, May 20th.
May 20th. All right.
Put me on the spot there. 'Cause I don't know.
Didn't have your calendar. Okay, let's go to B then. Let's go to the next one.
Public hearing 9:48.
Yeah,
Thomas Mergens requested district change from residential agricultural 5, RA 5 to small business commercial B3 for 7.5 acres located at 1144 State Highway 48 in section 30, town 36 north, range 16 west in the town of Bone Lake. Parcel number is 012-00733-0000. And the parcel is 38.8 acres total.
Which one have we been looking at?
What was that? Sorry.
Which one?
The Mergens.
Okay.
And then if we could get the beacon up again, please. For the search, yeah. I won't butcher this one. 1144 State Highway 48.
1144.
Maybe zoom in just a touch. Please. Perfect. So this is the property that is requesting the rezone. As stated, it's currently a 38.8 acre parcel. The rezone would involve a 7.5 acre rezone in approximately this location. I do have a map, the second tab on this page, proposed rezone dimensions. So this would normally be done prior to this meeting. I did try to go over with the applicant to come up with the meets and bounds description, but that is something that'll have to be finalized after. I feel like this was the map that was agreed upon, and we can ask the applicant that as well. But as far as having this little jog in here, and just kind of the layout of the property, it will need to be described further for our mapping purposes. But that is, if not exactly, very close to what is the proposed. So the proposal is to keep the house outside of the commercial and have these three accessory buildings in the commercial district. To move forward, the town approved the rezone request at their April 10th, 2025 meeting. The property is located in both the comprehensive and shoreland areas. It's mostly shoreland. Back on the map, I can show you the.
There we go.
And then this left side, if you could scroll down to Shoreland District under the layers. A little bit lower down under planning. Yeah, right there, short, zoning shoreline protection. So it's, like I said, it's a majority in the shoreline, but the shed almost sits actually right in the middle of the shoreland gap there, but it wouldn't change anything as far as the future proposal of the property. So the surrounding land use, as you will see, is pretty much all residential agricultural 5. And I do have another map I wanted to show over here. It is the last tab on the right. So this is the town of Bone Lake's preferred future land use. As you, back on that map, there was no commercial, but this is the location of this property. It's hard to see. But as you will notice, there's a block of preferred commercial just adjacent to this property. So I did feel like that was relevant in the town's future preferred land use planning. But currently in their map or preferred land use, this property isn't in commercial, but it is adjacent, like stated.
Is the one that's listed as red now commercial or just in the future?
Nope, this is just their future land use planning, correct?
Okay.
So this would be that adjacent property that's in the future plan as commercial. This is the property that's proposed to be commercial. 7.5 acres, not the entire parcel. The applicant purchased the property in February of this year, February 10th, 2025. The current property has a dwelling and 3 accessory buildings. The purpose of the rezone is to conduct an electrical business and storage facilities. The parcel has access off of State Highway 48. Runs on the north side of the property here. The current land use of the property is residential, and there is both agricultural and forest on the property, as you can see from the map. There are 4 undelineated wetlands and 1 delineated wetland on the property, but none of those are in the proposed rezone area. This would be the delineated wetland location. And then if we click on wetlands undelineated over here, it'll bring up the 4 that are also back in this south chain. So none of those would be within that rezoning area, requested area. There is no floodplain on the entire parcel. And the county did provide a proper class 2 legal notice prior to this hearing and did not receive any public comments on this request. That completes my report.
Okay.
And so the 7.5, so there'll be that 7.5 that will be commercial, then there'll be a gap with some that's residential, and then in the future, on the right, that would be commercial too, potentially.
Potentially.
So then my question would be that they'll need a CSM, I would assume, but does it make any of those buildings non-conforming? The line between them,
That's the next question I had, because right here.
because it goes,
Tight. Yeah.
so that shed to the left, I mean, to the west,
It looks
would
like
it have the 10 feet setback or whatever, not be
So,
cannot be used for a dwelling?
so currently, Polk County has, and I believe still currently allows, split zoning on a specific parcel. So that line wouldn't be a property line, it would just be the zoning district. So all it would have to do is encompass this building for this building to be used as commercial. It wouldn't be a property line, it's just a zoning district boundary, if that makes sense.
Yep, that's the explanation I needed there.
So would there even be a CSM then?
It
No,
doesn't have to be, as long as we get a description that we're able to map on here accurately, that's all we really need to have that zoning district
Because you're not creating a separate parcel.
Correct. It won't be a separate parcel. It's just a district change
Okay.
for that location on.
So that's where it says like 495 feet deep and that's what the description would make it work.
And so it'll tie all back into the section corner, because otherwise, if this does get split up, you can't just say from this property boundary, because then if that changes, so that's why it needs a pretty accurate or a very accurate description from the section corner. So it'll start from this northeast corner so far to here, and there's these little jogs because of the right of way, so that's what makes it a little more confusing.
Okay.
And it'll be all tied into that section corner, so it'll be a very good description for us to map, and then that'll be in the record for, or once it goes through,
Okay.
if it were to go through.
That makes sense. All right. Okay, do we have the owner or anybody?
I believe
Here.
so.
Is anybody here to talk on this one for or against?
The owner's not here.
Oh, let's go through your stuff then. Keep going. We won't even let you sit down.
All right. If we could pull up the, I guess while we're on this page, would you like to make this one an exhibit?
Yes. Yes, because that'll show that Home Lakes comprehensive plan, at least that they have one and stuff, so.
And then if we could go to that second tab screen.
All right, second tab.
Mergen's proposed, yeah, I believe this may want to be an exhibit as well.
Yes, because that's the one that needs a description for it.
Yeah.
And then the town notice would be the other exhibit.
The minutes,
Yes.
so that would be exhibit 3 then. So I have the town of Bone Lake future preferred land use map. Exhibit 2 is the proposed map of the rezone, and exhibit 3 is the town of Bone Lake minutes.
Okay,
And then Chad, if you could please pull up the findings.
Which one is that?
It's right underneath the, yep, now it's there,
This
the Word document.
Everybody see that okay?
yep.
Crystal lenses, so.
I also had the purpose in this one, so I don't know if you, I know they've been in there, I think, in the past, but I don't know one way or another if they should be, or if that's something, if it's okay to leave in there, if we should take that out, the purpose of the rezone.
A lot of times we could leave that out because it would be any of that. It would be the list we would put in there
Yeah, of uses.
of uses that we should maybe put that list in there to show them, because somebody else could get this and sell it tomorrow and they could do any of those 30 or 40, whatever it is.
So I'll strike that from the findings.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise, everybody see these? All right, well, then we can close this public hearing and then we'll go into our conclusions of law. Which I think we read, or we might as well read that one.
The conclusions of law, changing the zoning of this property to small business and commercial B3 is supported by the town of Bone Lake. The property is adjacent to an area along State Highway 48 that is preferred to be commercial in the future land use. And a little bit lower would be the staff recommendation, would be to recommend approval of the rezone to the full county board.
Okay. Any other questions on this one? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
I will move to send this to the consent agenda to the county board with our support and include the findings of fact and the staff recommendations
Conclusion of law.
for our conclusion of law. Working on it.
Does that sound right? Or should we start with conclusions? As long as it's all in there.
I think it's fine.
Okay, is there a second? Seconded by Tracy. Any other questions? Hearing none then, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That one moves forward. Who the- All right. Let's get the next one.
Same guy.
We ready to go with the third?
Yes, let's open up the next one.
Open at 10:02.
Yes.
Bruce and Ann McFeeters requested district change from residential agricultural five, RA five to recreational business and commercial B2 for parcels located in section 19 and 20, pound 37 north, range 16 west in the town of Clam Falls. Parcel number 014-00424-0100, which is 2.97 acres. 014-00424-0000, 1.78 acres. 014-00424-0300, which is 1.64 acres. 014-00437-1100, which is 3.27 acres. 014-00437-1200, which is 2.84 acres. 014-00437-1300, 15.85 acres. 014-00438-0000, 40.20 acres. 014-00424-0400, 34.27 acres. 014-00424-0000, 31.1 acres, and 014-00421-0000, which is 5 acres.
Total is what, about 140?
Total is 138.92 acres.
Okay, thank you.
And we have the property up on the map. Maybe we should zoom out a little bit, please, to try to encompass all the properties that are requested to rezone. So it's 240s or close to 40s down here. There's 3 parcels along this body of water. 2 more smaller parcels. So that's 7. The 8th one is this 15-acre parcel. The 9th one is this 31.1 acre horseshoe parcel up in the left-hand corner. And then there's a 4.99, I believe, or 5 acre parcel that is up on the Clam Falls Drive there. So the request concerns 10 separate parcels totaling 138.92 acres in the town of Clam Falls. The access to the property, some of the parcels can be accessed off of Clam Falls Drive. The other ones, there's a private road that's 112th Street that runs down into the property for access to some of those smaller parcels. The purpose of the rezone is to operate the rentals as a resort rather than adhering to the tourist rooming house requirements. A resort is a conditional use under the B2 zoning district. The entire property currently has 2 dwellings that are used as rental cabins, an accessory building. So I'll start with the 2 dwellings. One of them is right on this parcel where there's an address. The other one is on this parcel. So it's the 3.27 acre and the 1.78 acre parcels that are shown on the map there, where there are currently 2 rentals. Up towards the road, there is a large accessory building here, and then there's another building there that was permitted. I don't have, within the last, I don't know exactly when it was permitted. It was permitted as a laundry, bath, and kitchen area. And then there are also a couple other accessory buildings throughout the property. The property does have that large class 3 or Florida class 3. It's a large body of water here. And then there are also 3 mapped streams here. So we have one coming here, here, and then there's another one, I believe, that is coming down to connect these two. There are also several undelineated wetlands, as you can see throughout the property. All these small blue dots are all undelineated wetlands that are located out there. The surrounding land is a mix of residential, agriculture, and forest. The surrounding zoning districts are residential agricultural 5 in all the shoreland areas. And being Clam Falls is an unzoned town, any area, if we zoom out just a little bit, any area outside of the shoreland, you'll see that it is grayed out because that is an unzoned area. So those are the 2 zoning districts in this immediate area. The property was recently subdivided in June of 2023, and that was the creation of these smaller lots down by that class 3 lake. The county did provide a proper class 2 legal notice prior to this hearing and received 1 comment in opposition, which I believe you guys received via email. Last thing I had, as far as the acreage in RA5, there would be a potential, if this was just to be subdivided due to the density standard of RA5, there's a potential for 30 lots to be created in this entire area. If it were to be commercial, then it would fall down to just the 1 acre minimum, but there is restrictions on the use. Commercial can't just be used for residential, so it could be split further, but also there's not the residential allowability unless it's in conjunction with a commercial use. So I just wanted to kind of point out the density standard aspect of it. That's all I have for now.
Okay, any questions? Logan?
Just one question. You mentioned access to the property. Is there access though on the southern side, on the south side? Well, you said there was like 238 or whatever parcels on the south side, right, that are being considered as well, those 2, that one and that one? Yep. Is there access to those?
So if there is access, it would be, it looks like there's some sort of drive here that may come through here or trail.
So that's not water.
I guess I'm not entirely sure.
Okay.
What that,
I was just curious, that's all. Thank you.
if we turn off the wetlands,
So there's.
wetland layers, yeah, you can.
Correct.
In that bottom wetland, it should show us a little better. Maybe we gotta turn lakes and rivers off as well.
Not access. I'd have to come around the east side.
And it's okay. I was just curious if there was a current road or anything to access.
No.
Because it seems like it's a long, just looking at the map, that it looks like it's a long ways around.
It is, correct.
Let's see if contours help.
I don't know what that other layer is. That's still, but.
It's a ship.
But yeah, maybe the applicant may have more information on how that is accessed.
Okay, well, is the owner here? Would you want to come up?
Yes.
State your name, please.
Good morning. My name is Bruce McFeeters. My wife Ann and I have owned the property, the 135 acres since 2018, and we bought 2020. We have a lake cabin on Wood Lake, and so we've been coming up to the Burnett County area since 1988. My first thought just to think about is Polk County is no different. Towns are either growing or they're dying. They're slowly dying. Nothing ever stays the same. I mean, that's just the way life is, in my view. When we bought this property, it was sort of farmed and just hunting land. And we invested a lot of money and we invested over $2.5 million into this property. And as a result of that, I mean, the property taxes went from maybe 2,000 a year to now over 11. We've had over 2,000 guests probably, or more, 2,000 to 3,000 people that have visited Polk County. They've spent money here, gone to restaurants, bought gas, go to grocery stores, but they take nothing. We call this Nordless. We have a website. And it's a very quiet place to be. We have on the pond, we have kayaks and a pedal boat. In this wintertime, you can snowshoe. We don't allow snowmobiles. We don't allow ATVs. No guest, to our knowledge, has ever brought an ATV or a snowmobile. That's just not who we are. But we restored about over 20 acres that was corn and soybeans into wildflowers and wild prairies. There's tons of wildlife and there's a lot of hunting land around us. And to my view, what we've done is benefited all the hunting land because there's just a lot of animals. But what happened, and the only reason I'm here is, and I don't know when it happened, no one ever told me, but the county a few years ago made a rule that you have to now, if you have a short-term rental, you have to say 7 nights. So this is in a sense, imagine if the county said that, any more hotels in Polk County, minimum 7 nights. Guess what happens? There will never be another hotel in Polk County. We've had over 500, probably 700 stays in the time we've been open in 4 years. One person has stayed 7 nights. I mean, that's just not who this is. So if this rule had been in place back in 2018, I would have never bought the land. I would have never invested the money. I put a thank you in the paper. We had over 75 local companies that helped us build this. I spent, like I said, over $2.5 million on this project. None of that would have happened if this rule had been in place. And I appreciate working with Logan. And right now, because of that, we thought about building a 3rd cabin. I mean, these are just little cabins. One of them is a 1-bedroom, one's a 2-bedroom. And we were going to build a 3rd one. And a good thing we didn't, because I find out all of a sudden there's this new rule that you can only rent it for 7 nights minimum, or you can rent it 2 nights, but then you have to keep it open for 5. I mean, we employ 4 part-time people. We have 2 wonderful housekeepers. They work 3 days a week part-time. If the cabin's empty for a week, there's no work. I can't pay them. We pay a good wage. We pay them $26.50 an hour. So it's, in other words, a good wage. I mean, local people. I mean, one of the women brings their new baby to work. It's just a beautiful place to work. It's been a win-win-win. And I know we had the one neighbor in opposition, but I got to tell you, and the town board approved this unanimously. At the town board meeting, he came up and said that people were, driving on their property with ATVs and snowmobiles. Well, I have never seen any of our guests with an ATV or a snowmobile. I've asked our housekeeping, they've never seen that. We've never seen a guest that has a trailer hitch or a trailer. So I don't understand that. If there's people with ATVs or snowmobiles and they're trespassing on my land too. So I don't understand that at all. And all I wanted to do was build another cabin and be able to rent it. I mean, we put that housekeeping house, we have, laundry facilities. So, I mean, we have the infrastructure to have another cabin. I mean, we've been investing. I mean, cabins aren't cheap. It's gotten really expensive. You build a heated pole barn and you're looking at least $200,000 these days. It's expensive to build anything. And if you want any more investment in Polk County, my suggestion is to think about the rules you adopt, because this just creates a headwind I don't know who wins by this new rule. The only thing I can think of is if I have a cabin on Bone Lake or Balsam Lake, and my next door neighbor is renting it out every night to a different, they're basically turning it into a commercial resort. I get that. I don't like that because it's only 25 feet away. But the nearest house, someone actually lives in a house, is I think over 1,500 feet away at least. And you can't see, anyway, it's just, they're a long ways away. We've never had a complaint from the sheriff or a noise issue. So this just makes me sad, because to my mind, this is just government looking for a problem that didn't need to be solved, at least not on our 140-acre property. So if this isn't approved, there won't be any more cabins built. There won't be any more part-time jobs. We won't have any, if we had, under the conditional use permit application that I've submitted, I'd like to be able to build eventually maybe up to 8 cabins on 138 acres. No more than that. No RV park, 1 dwelling per lot, all the rules, all the health department rules, everything's by the book. And if we had 6 or 8 cabins, all of a sudden we'd be, I'd have 6 or 7 part-time people doing housekeeping. We'd have that many more people going to the restaurants. Again, if you don't do this kind of thing, there won't be restaurants. There won't be as many grocery stores. I mean, it's just, or places for people, we've got 2 ladies that work part-time and they don't have to commute anywhere, it's close to home. It's great. I mean, I thought it was a win-win. I really did. And I'm sorry that you're concerned about snowmobilers and ATVs, but their property got a lot of stuff on it, old equipment, everything. I don't have any of that on my property. I've cleaned it all up. It's beautiful. This land is beautiful and people have loved it. Although over 500 people that have stayed there, we've had unanimous 5-star reviews, not even a single 4-star review. People have loved it. And for that reason, they love Polk County. They love the St. Croix Valley. I mean, we've had people really from all over the country that have come to stay. So again, why do we regulate this out of existence? I don't understand that. If there was another way through the tourist rooming house, then I wouldn't ask for the zoning. I feel like I have to, build an aircraft carrier to just, fly a little plane. All I need to do is to be able to rent a cabin for 2 night, I have a 2-night minimum, because we do housekeeping on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but a 7-night minimum, it doesn't work. No one will rent it, and if no one's gonna, then why build it? So, and as far as that, there is no access from the south. The 40-acre parcel, the neighbors have some 40s to the south. There is no, other than, an ATV path or something that through their land, but so there's no path there. I've surveyed. I probably spent $35,000 surveying, and it's staked. We've got signs everywhere between our property and your property. I've got signs. So I don't know what else I can do in terms of being a good neighbor, other than just letting the properties stay vacant hunting land. That's fine, but none of this would have ever happened if we're going to do that. And it's great to have hunting land, but somewhere you got to have some, people to come to, support the people who live here. And that's what we're doing. And I appreciate your time.
All right, any questions of them?
Just a question on the
Yep.
driveway.
Okay,
So it does have a street number. Who owns it if it's a private driveway and it has a street number?
Well, I built the road, paid for it, and the county assigned 112th Street, but it's completely on our property. It's a dead end, and that's how you access the 2.
so the town didn't take it over?
No,
Oh,
had to do anything.
okay. All right, any other questions? All right, thank you. Anyone else speaking for or against? Come up then.
I actually submitted the email to you.
Okay, come up, state your name.
My name is William Champ, and
Angela McKenzie.
my girlfriend Angela, her family's owned the property at Clam Falls Drive, adjacent to the opposed property since 1938, I believe, something like that. And many generations of their family's grown up there. Nice, quiet neighborhood. We recently, within the past, 3 years, took over the property. I've been cleaning it up to slowly get everything cleaned up so we can build our house out there. We live in Cumberland right now. When we're out there, their one house is literally, I don't know how far it is, but you can see it, the glass house adjacent to it. They have a walking trail which walks right along our fence line within probably, 30 yards. People constantly walk through there and everything. They walk down there, they come across our fence. Part of our fence is ripped down. From that, you can see where people have crossed it. They're not that respectful. People have come from out of town.
They're curious and they want to stare and look.
We have animals out there. We have old equipment out there, which some stuff's getting cleaned up. But when you're out there working, people stop and look and take pictures. They're curious. I don't need people coming on the property, trying to pet a cow, trying to pet a pig, trying to look on old equipment or cars, just being curious because they're from the cities. And that's what tends to happen with people. I've seen it happen before. I've seen curiosity of people. And that's what I can already tell has happened because our fence has been torn down because of that. Back in that corner. Because there was strands of barbed wire that were there, even though it's an old fence, it's completely gone now. And you can see foot tracks that were through the tall grass at one point in time. So I know that they're not respectful of the land over there.
We just, excuse me, we just want to keep our nice, quiet, pristine, homestead property as well.
I don't have no problem with people coming to visit, but I don't need 8 more cabins sitting adjacent behind us, bringing more people in. Because you have a nice, quiet neighborhood, which is meant to be for your family, for your farms and stuff. Bringing people in from out of town and causing disturbance. He talks about, it brings in money to the community. But there's people who actually own land. They come from different parts of the states, everything. They bring money into the community. It's no different. But I don't see no point in building 8 more cabins to bring different people in. You don't know who these people are coming in here every so many days. They're staying behind you. I used to work for the government. I used to work for the police departments. I've seen these different people. You can't trust people to just come in. So I don't agree with that one bit. So
All right.
that's just my take on it.
Okay.
I like nice, quiet. I don't want a bunch of riffraff where people run in and out. And that's what he said for the ATVs. Yeah, there are people going back there with ATVs, making noise. Whether he is his employees, as he said, we only have, they personally have ATVs for their employees back there. Whether it's their employees back there playing around with ATVs, I don't know, but I know there are ATVs back there. People back there raising cane on ATVs.
And we don't have those as well. We don't have snowmobiles or ATVs either, just like our tractor and.
So I don't go over there trying to raise cane and make a lot of noise. I go over there, do my work, go home, and that's as far as it goes.
We're trying to restore our family farm and property and hopefully eventually have our parents live out there with us as well, because they're out.
So we're trying to get my house sold. I'm building a new house over there. So we just want a nice, quiet area. So that's all I gotta say.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, you get to rebuttal if you want.
I would like to.
Okay.
I mean, we do have an ATV and a gator. I mean, just for kind of servicing the trails, but I mean, they're just used. I mean, it's a golf course would use an ATV more, more than I mean, it's not that much. So I don't understand that. And when we do that, it's only on turnover days, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, usually between 10 and 4, because we don't use them when any guests are on the property. So if other people are using ATVs, it's not us. And I think legally, I have the right to drive an ATV or a gator on our, property between the hours of 10 and 4, 3 days a week. I don't think that's too much to ask. I mean, legally, I could build, as Logan mentioned, a lot more cabins. I mean, there's no financial reason to do that. But I mean, if the property got sold, I mean, somebody could just build cabins. So I mean, that's just the way it is. And I got to tell you, your property right now looks like a junkyard. It's really ugly. Our guests have to look at
Don't,
that. So
don't get into that. Don't,
I'm just,
that's not what we're here for. We're here for
I'm just
rezoning.
saying,
Yeah, but we don't, and
okay.
hopefully I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I haven't, that's the only time I've ever said that. I won't say it again.
Thank you.
But I don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, the guests might be walking in the I mean, he mentions the fence line. I mean, there's a trail and it's probably 30 or 40 yards to the barbed wire fence. It's through tall grass. So, I mean, if someone have to literally kind of go through the tall grass, there's no, anyway, that's not the kind of guests we have. I don't know why we have a lot of other trails on the property for people to do that. And again, I'm sorry, we have signs on, we have, boundary line and so please, no please respect our neighbor's property, no trespassing. I have those signs probably every 200 feet along all of the neighboring property lines. I don't really know how I can do this any better, other than not doing it again. And if this isn't approved, there won't be any more cabins and we'll just have these two and that's kind of all it'll ever be. But, and it's not, we're not building Disney World. We're not building a big resort, but it's just, we have enough land and we have the infrastructure to have another few cabins over time. I don't know, we'll see. Maybe, and for now, I was just thinking of one. So I hope it gets approved for the reason that I disagree with, I mean, the 2,000 plus people that have come here and stayed at Nordlis, they wouldn't have come otherwise. And I'm not saying local people don't spend money, but when people come and spend money, that's a good thing. I mean, they're not taking it, they don't tax the schools. I mean, we have 3 sets of solar panels on the property. We're kind of doing the own electric. We're not really taking much. We have the wells and this, everything's in compliance. We've spent so much money. I mean, even this process cost me $1,600 in fees alone just to do this, all because of this 7-night rule that I didn't ask for, I didn't even know about. Again, it's just, and a lot of people, if with this rule, we're not going to see many more short-term rental cabins. And I mean, the metal, he calls it the glass house. We've had, on YouTube, we've had like 1.5 million views. I mean, people have seen Polk County. I mean, this is like Travel Wisconsin. We've been on their website. I mean, it's a really beautiful place that kind of takes nothing other than, their unhappiness. And I'm sorry for that. So again, it's going to continue to be a quiet place and I hope it gets approved.
All right, thank you. All right. Anyone else? Come on up, please.
Morning, people. I'm glad to be able to do this. I'm opposed to it.
State your name first, please.
Robert Kozemplek. And I live right there just adjacent to McKinsey. And we built a log house back in 1988. And it was an old farmstead. My mother used to live there, whatnot, and we got it from her. But, one thing that was said here that I don't know how it goes, but they said that could be subdivided down the road down here. 10 years, 20 years from now, don't know what, who's gonna pick up after, if he leaves us and who's gonna run the place as it is. But they're talking about subdividing it, could be like 300 lots up there. I don't think that'd work out very well and where we're at there and stuff. I'm concerned about traffic. I'm concerned about people coming in. Do you screen everybody that comes up to stay with you? Do you know their backgrounds or anything as to what kind of people are coming in? You're talking about utilities and stuff. What are we gonna do for your sewers, your wells, your power? How is that gonna affect everything? Northwestern, their power is somewhat questionable at times. I put a whole house generator in because cloud go over and the lights go out. They've improved things a little bit because then they put a new line in. I think I've come out of Lewis, but I still lose power. I mean, I don't because I got my generator there. So I mean, if you start adding all these cabins out there and stuff, people are only staying there on weekends. They're not gonna spend a lot of money in town. You go through Frederick there, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, nobody in town. 7 days a week, I don't care when you're in there. So I can't see that this is gonna improve Frederick's economy for whatever. What's it gonna do to our taxes? My taxes gonna go up because of this, all these buildings out here that's, what's this gonna do to our end of it here? it's just things of this here that brings to mind that we don't know who the people are. Clam Falls comes, or Clam Falls Drive comes off of I, out of Clam Falls, it comes off of W up there and stuff. So people are coming in from all directions. And there's a lot of traffic out there now. And now we start building extra cabins. He's talking maybe 8, maybe more. So, what's this gonna do to our little area right there? So I'm against it. I don't think that it needs to be. I've been to his property. He's got a beautiful glass house up there. I've been to his other house that he built down just to the west of it there. Beautiful little place. He did tell me that they're gonna build a road. There's a creek out there behind these houses and stuff that he's got there now. He did tell me he's gonna build a road, over that creek over there. He's gotta build a dam or a bridge. And that road's gonna take him to the south and to whatever else his property is out there. So there is access across that property there. So whatever they develop it to the south, it's in their plans. So, we don't know. So I think that's probably about all I've got to say is that, I don't think we need any more buildings out there, any more people coming in. 'Cause they're not gonna make Frederick into a rice lake or anything by having these people. It could be potential issues, but there's a client, of the people running around the world as today, a lot of drugs in Frederick, Luck, Siren. No. I don't think we need to add any more, any more to help bring that along. Maybe not, but we don't know. So that's all I have to say.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Yes, you do get to rebut.
Thank you. Yeah, I might just say, the people that come, the type of people that stay at Nordlis, I mean, our average, nightly rates, it's not, cheap, it's $400 or $500 a night. And the kind of people that come, I mean, they're not coming there to party. It's usually just couples. It's kind of a couples retreat, with a sauna and a hot tub kind of thing. So we don't have, I mean, I'm basically giving the keys to a $500,000 house to a complete stranger, and I've done that probably 700 times, and I've never had a problem. Never had, broken things or stolen things. I mean, it's just whatever at this price point, it just hasn't. I mean, knock on wood, it hasn't happened. So, I mean, I hear what you're saying. It can happen, and then it's not planning to subdivide, but any property in Polk County could potentially be subdivided. I know if you over 5, you got to go to the state, and it's a big. I mean, I'm not planning to do that, but when you say I might, well, anyone here who's a property owner might do that. So, and there'll probably never be 8 cabins, but I was just hoping to not have to come back here again and spend another $1,600. So maybe there'll only be 4. I don't know. Right now there's 2. I know if this isn't passed, there will never be more than 2. And maybe that's what you want. But eventually our kids need to have a place to live and a place to, we're employing 4 part-time people that are local. I mean, one of them lives like a quarter of a mile away. It's an ideal job for her 3 days a week. I mean, her commute is about 3 minutes. I mean, it's great. And I'm really happy for her that it worked out. But those kinds of opportunities just won't happen if we sort of stay stuck, if we just kind of freeze everything or keep adopting new rules that basically make what you're doing. Imagine what you're doing today becomes illegal tomorrow because some government body decided to make it illegal and they don't even tell you, by the way. Fortunately, we're grandfathered. If we weren't grandfathered, I'd just probably turn over the keys because I mean, it costs, I mentioned about $400 to keep a place like this open. I mean, it's expensive. I mean, payroll every week. I mean, I've got $1,000 a week in payroll. I mean, plus property taxes, insurance, you name it. So, you have to, so again, I'm sorry that you feel this way and maybe I wish I never would have done this, but I've invested a lot of money in Polk County. And, I guess I feel like that investment should be worth something. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, then Logan, let's go through your conclusions and
Part of the findings that I would like to add is this preferred future land use map as well of Clam Falls. If you wish,
Yes, have that in there.
so this property this is that, water body down here that is, on the property. So it's a mix of forest and agriculture for the future land use of the property. So I will add that in as a, finding.
Okay.
And then we can bring up the rest of the findings, which should be that Word document, right? Oh, it's there, yep. Scroll up just a touch, please. The one thing is, I would like to strike this, that was added, and then after further review, it wouldn't be able to be 133 dwelling lots. It would, I mean, it could be subdivided into, multiple lots, but I think that would be best left out, because it is not completely accurate.
Okay, that last one.
Yeah.
Density, okay.
Otherwise, if there's anything that would like to be added to the findings from,
Second from the bottom, does that need to be two complaints or two opposition?
yeah, does that get added? Or do we just do the hearings received by email and mail, or do we add in the public hearing comments?
You received 2 comments in opposition, so I
We
would,
received 2 comments in opposition, yes, that should be it.
You could delineate.
Because the one email was the same person. You
Correct.
emailed us that, okay, so that would be the same one. So there was 2 letters of opposition. But otherwise, the town was unanimous, if I read it right, and stuff at the town.
Yeah, we do have that document up here.
Yeah,
The last tab on the right is the resolution from the town of Clam Falls.
sure,
Would you like to make this an exhibit?
yes, that should be in there for sure. And actually, I think they have exhibit A, B, and C in the application. And that was part of one of those, but we still should exhibit that, this one.
We'll have that as exhibit
And
1.
then, was the map marked as an exhibit also?
The preferred,
It's exhibit A in the application, so that should be all right.
trying to get there.
So at least in the application, they have the ABC, it's just the resolution from the town wasn't marked as an exhibit. So I think we'll be good if we add that. And,
Which one did you want to add?
well, the town and then the 2 opposition letters.
Okay.
So that we should.
There's just one letter.
There's one email and then 2 statements. right?
Yeah,
Well, the statement and the letter are the same person.
yeah,
So
So just 2 oppositions,
2
but
public
not 2
comments. during
letters.
but
Not
not 2
2
letters.
letters.
Okay, 2 in opposition. All right. All right, then read your,
Yeah, I also have another document as far as the allowed uses in the recreational business, which is the first tab here, allowed uses.
oh,
I just
sure.
wanted to clarify, if this were to be rezoned, these 6 things would be able to be permitted as an allowed or permitted use. These following things would require a conditional use. So I just wanted to make that clear as far as the question on if the property were to transfer or anything, someone could come in the day after it, transfers and do any of those things that not under here, they would need to come for a conditional use, but those 6 things up a little higher, those would all be, allowed or permitted use, such as a sporting goods, archery range, recreational sales and service, restaurant and tavern, bait shop, miniature golf, or a single family dwelling that's in connection with any of those above uses.
But they still go through a permit process, so it isn't like they just, yeah, the normal, okay.
Yeah, there won't be any hearing or anything on those six.
So, but the other ones is all hearings on, all right.
Correct. Would you like to exhibit this document?
Let's put it in there.
Okay.
I mean, so then it would be at the time in case that, like he said, when these changes happen and stuff, at least this is when his was in there. Well, let's go back to conclusions then,
Findings.
or findings of fact, and then your,
So under the conclusions, changing the zoning of this property to recreational business commercial B2 is supported by the town of Clam Falls. The property is in a rural area that may not be conducive to this zoning district. The additional uses that would be allowed in the proposed zoning district, such as a restaurant or tavern, are not compatible with the current surrounding land use. While rezoning the property for the sole purpose of this application may not be a concern, the rezone of the entire 138.92 acres to this zoning district could have a negative impact to the surrounding rural area in the future.
okay. And then what's your
As
recommendation?
far as that, yeah, so the staff does not have a recommendation one way or the other, just being the way the conclusion is read. There's kind of a,
Okay, 50-50. All right. Okay. Let's close our public hearing then.
10:43.
Then, yeah, we would have to go through that. So any other questions or? Discussion?
Do we have any complaints against this property since it's been in use? Any documented?
that I'm aware of.
So none that way, so. It's just about everything he wants to do is a conditional use. So,
Yeah, it doesn't fall in those six.
yeah. So. Not then I'll entertain a motion.
One more comment?
The public hearing is closed. I'm sorry.
So can we send it with no recommendation?
I'll make a motion if you like.
Yes.
Got a word this for Joe here. Having seen the finding of facts and the conclusions read to us, I'll make a motion that we approve the zone change.
Okay, and does that cover it?
Move to adopt the findings of fact as presented
Presented.
Okay, I'll work.
and the conclusions of law as presented and move to the board for approval
Okay,
Okay, adopt them.
on the consent agenda.
and the consent agenda.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Does that have to work?
Does it have to go on the consent agenda?
Doesn't have to. I mean, it can be contested at the county board if we wanted to, if we want it argued there, but
Can we just say not the consent agenda?
if you don't want it on the consent agenda and have discussion at the board, we can.
So that motion could die for a lack of a second, which is fine. And someone could make a new motion that just doesn't have the consent agenda language on it. That's fine.
If you want it discussed at the full board.
Should the motion say not on the consent agenda?
It doesn't have to.
Doesn't have to say not,
Doesn't
you
have
just
to say
move to
that.
the full board and then it would fall, then the clerk would put it in, not in the consent agenda.
Okay, gotcha.
So do you want to redo your motion that way?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, if that would
It
work.
doesn't have to die. He can modify since before there's a
And take
second, he can modify it and take the,
Take consent agenda out. Okay. Now do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All right. So that it can be discussed at the full board and go that way too if we want. All right. So then all those in favor say aye. Opposed? All right, so it'll go to the full board. On the 20th, and it won't be on the consent agenda. It'll be for discussion. All right. Short break. Gotta stand and stretch for a second here. And then we'll come back. What do we got left?
Number eight.
Number 8.
For the land. Okay,
11, 12.
you can have that ready up.
Handouts.
Handout, okay.
And then we also, yeah. thing. Why can't people just be nice to each other and not be jealous? Two
Should have took the.
jealousy of all.
Sure.
Huh?
It is.
Take the LiDAR and zoom into that guy's yard next door.
Hang in there.
Yeah.
It won't be in his lifetime.
It kind of seemed like it was,
All right,
Amount of words for the day.
let's come back to order. See if we're buying land or not, huh?
Ready to go to closed session?
You gonna show it to us a little bit first, or you wanna go and do it all enclosed?
All close, I think.
Yeah, do we all enclosed?
yes.
Right,
Think so.
is that right, Joe? All of it has to be enclosed? Or can they present some of it, just no numbers?
I don't know what is and is not potentially advantageous for the county to discuss and close. So I would recommend that we start and close. And if it starts to touch on anything that I think is not appropriate for closed session, I'll say, save that for when we come back into open.
All right.
So
I would start and closed.
I make a motion, we go into closed session.
Second.
for 1985 1E,
Correct.
is there a second?
I second it.
All right, then say who's here. But last time I did, I had Malia leave, so then it didn't work right. We'll let you stay.
Everybody.
Is there anybody on,
Everyone can stay.
are people online?
Are there people?
Go to, I'm gonna join a close
Meeting would have been.
It would have been
We had
weird.
the other stuff. We would have had to have a dinner break.
Only, I'm just gonna say it's spring.
It would have.
Oh.
Cause I thought this got a 2 hours.
I do believe all road restrictions are off, correct?
All right. So coming out of closed session, we have nothing to announce. How's that? Keep it quiet. All right. Administrators update.
I have no update at this time,
Cool.
Mr. Chair.
Um,
Way to get out of it. Sarah, go ahead on yours.
Unfortunately, I do have a couple things. We had the bike and ped plan, open house last night with West Central Regional Planning. It was from 5 to 7 last night and it was really well attended. There were, at least 30+ people here. West Central, Regional Planning did a nice job of setting up stations for attendees. I'm just going to kind of read what Tim said. Provided the planning process information. They provided state and federal plan bike routes. There was an area for comment on the vision statement for the plan and goals and objectives. There were also some interactive spots asking about biking and walking habits. How frequently do you do both? For what purpose? How long? There was also an interactive map where participants could indicate where they already bike and walk, where there were impediments or gaps, and where they wanted connections, etc. Additionally, there have been over 200 responses so far for that from the online survey. If you haven't done so, the survey, it's really been a popular comment. The survey is open until May 2nd, so there's still time for folks to comment. So between that open house feedback and the online survey, we will have a plethora of information to move forward. The information will get synthesized in the near future after the survey closes and will be included in the plan. And then the next meeting of the steering committee for the bike and ped plan is in May. So just kind of a quick update on where all of that sits for Tim. Other than that, it is tree week. So Land and Water Resources is all out in the shed right now, packing up the bundles. And Friday is dispersal day. It's most important to have the nice weather for packing day. So there might be some rain on Friday. But also June 2nd, we have our interns begin in Land and Water Resources. So that kind of launches the series of projects in that area. It's spring, road restrictions are lifted, so the zoning office is crazy. Welcome back from vacation, Logan. Cody Knopp, this is some other information you need. Cody Knopp is leaving his position with wildlife damage. I think he's only been there a couple of years, but he is heading west. I think Montana is what we heard. So his last day is April 30th. David Rude, R-U-I-D, is the Northwest Wisconsin District Supervisor, and he will be fielding all of those wildlife damage calls for now. I do have a number for him if you'd like, 715-966-5363.
Send that all to all the town clerks.
Yeah.
That would be the number.
Yep.
So we don't get it.
Yep, and I do believe that they've done some.
Right there.
I do believe they've done some outreach, but I'll verify that. I will verify that all of that is sent out.
Those town clerks love that number.
Just add it to that clerk list.
Yeah. I think that's all I have for you today. I will be providing more information on there's been some questions at Gen Government about the compliance technician. What I provide to them, I will provide to you, especially on your May 7th meeting. Yeah. That's what I have. Yes, any questions for me?
Update from BNR on our draft.
I haven't received any comments on that or any updates on it either.
Yeah.
Last meeting, did you say we're number 7 or something in the queue or something like that?
Yeah, they were working on it. The last update we had is that
It's at 60 to 120 per day.
hopefully, we can include some of that information on the May 7th agenda. But if we don't have anything, you'll know,
I think, right?
you'll know when we know when that agenda is released.
Super, thank you.
Yeah. And
So our
Turned into years.
our work plan stays about the same.
our work plan will stay about the same. We will do, we will have some annual reports and, we will have the fee schedule in May. We'll take a look at the fee schedule as we drill down and, look at revenue streams and things of that nature as well, as we start our budget season with our friendly Gen Gov director nodding his head in the back.
Yep.
Anything else from me? Otherwise,
I
a
think.
short couple weeks and we'll see you May 7th.
And then 13, is there any update? There's no litigation updates, are there yet? No. I don't think so. That would be too soon to
I make a motion that we adjourn.
do seconds.
I'll do the second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Just said too, if you guys are hearing from any contractors or anything, just have them call me. Have my number on the ready, 8631.
For what's that?
Just if you're hearing